Something terrible has happened. We are not even yet 50 years after the death of Prophet Muhammad, and we are about to see the Prophet's own grandson being massacred by a group of people and their leaders who were calling themselves Muslim. A kind of madness has entered into the picture, and that madness is about power, to have and to hold on to power. It is about this Umayyad dynasty. People with arrogant attitudes are now ruling, people of injustice, tyranny and corruption. It is now the turn of people of injustice, tyranny and corruption. It is now the turn of Muhammad's grandson Hussein to rise, to remove all these forms of injustice. He recognizes that he has to stand in order to enjoin the good and forbid the evil. Hussein's ethos was about establishing freedom. He was faced with tyranny and injustice, and he had a choice to make. Here was Hussein with only 70 followers, facing an army of 30,000. He could have walked away with his life intact and his family, but he decided to make a stand, a selfless stand. A normal person would want to back down, but Hussein maintained his ground. Waqia appointed Yazid as the caliph after him, contrary to the terms of agreement with Hassan ibn Ali, Hussein's older brother, of the truce and the conditions that he had agreed upon with Hassan ibn Ali. When he Waqia appointed Yazid as the caliph, he admonished Yazid. He said, "I have retrieved the oath of allegiance from all save for people of the name were Hussein ibn Ali. At the death of his father, he immediately dispatched a letter to the governor of Medina, who was also his first cousin, Walid ibn ibn Abu Sufyan. The letter read, as soon as you get this letter, summon Hussein and extract the oath of allegiance, otherwise put him to death." Ibn Abbas comes to Hussein. He says, "O Hussein, stay in Makkah or return to Medina." Imam Hussain says, "O Ibn Abbas, these people will seek me, search me out and put me to death in Makkah and Medina, and I do not wish the sanctity of Medina and Makkah to be violated by the spilling of my blood." He said, "O Hussein, then do know that the same fate awaits you on your route to Kufa." Hussein states, "I know this very well." Finding Makkah unsafe, he prepares to leave. When Hussein was en route to Kufa, somebody cried, "Allah Akbar." Imam Hussain said, "Indeed Allah is great, but what makes you utter the takbir at this point? Else see the date palms of Kufa." He uttered. There were people with Hussein who knew the route well. They said, "We are at a great distance from Kufa." When they looked closely, they found an army drowned in armor coming towards them. Hussein said, "It is an army. It is approaching us. We will camp here." It was an army of 1,000 led by General Hurr. Imam Hussein engages with Hurr. Hurr allow us to rest here. Hurr refuses. He says, Hurr allow us to return to Medina. Hurr refuses. Hurr allow us to go on a different path. Hurr refuses. Hussein is forced to take a path at the banks of the Euphrates. He arrives at a point where his steed refuses to move. He turns to Zuhair and he says, "Zuhair, what is this land?" He states, "It is known as Tafta, banks of Euphrates." He says, "Does it have another name?" "It is known as Ninawa." "Does it have another name?" He says, "It is known as Karbala." which means tribulations and sorrows. He descends from his steed. He takes his spear and embeds it firmly within the sand and calls out, Wallahi, by all of this is the place where our animals shall rest, where our tents shall be pitched, where we shall be killed, where our women shall be taken as captive, where our children shall be orphaned. It is here we shall be buried, from here we shall be raised. Upon arrival in Karbala, UMA or LBN, Saad ordered that the route towards the river is completely blocked off, and the campsite of Hussein would not receive any water. From the 7th onwards, the campsite of Hussein had no water supply, and therefore thirst was prevalent amongst the adults and the children. Remembering the heat of the desert, it is the night of Ashura. The family and companions of Hussein ibn Ali spent the night in worship, recitation of the Quran as well as prayers. Hussein ibn Ali summoned his companions and his family. He says, take the cloak of darkness of this night as a cover, and flee for your lives, for I relieve you of constraints of the oath of allegiance. Free yourselves and go, for by your death I shall not be saved. O Hussein, do you doubt our loyalty and commitment to you? Hussein smiles and says, no prophet or wali has been given companions like the ones I have been given. Hussein has spent the most part of the morning of Ashura trying to clarify the minds of his opponents. He was saying, you know who I am. This is the book of God. This is what the prophet has said about me. This is my claim. You know that is wrong. You know I am right. The only response they gave was, either pay the allegiance to the caliph, or we put you to death. When the friends of Hussein had lost their lives, when only the Hashemites survived, it was decided that they would go into single combat. It was a tradition of war. Hussein came to Ali Akbar, his son. He said, O child, you shall be the first from me to give your life. Go and seek permission and bid farewell to your mother, to your aunts and to your sisters. Hamid ibn the Muslim states that I saw Akbar ascend upon the back of his steed. Hussein raised his two fingers towards the heavens and he said, O Allah, now send to them a youth that most resembles your prophet in his features, in his speech, in his mannerisms. Akbar came into the battlefield. He said, I am Akbar, the son of Hussein. O people, unleash your swords against me and see how the youth of Hashim defends his honor in breaking the sanctity of the messenger of God. O Allah, take revenge from these people. O Akbar, my life has no meaning. After you, Hussein calls to the son of Hashim, help me, I am unable to carry this. Son of mine, Sakina, Hussein's daughter, approaches him. She says, O father, where is my brother? O child, do not ask of your brother. Hussein's sentiments are depicted in these words. 0 star of dawn, how short was your life? Such is the duration of the lives of the stars that take birth at dawn. Abbas ibn Ali enters within the tents. What does he find? That little children are dying of thirst. They are crying out for water, and they are rubbing the water skins upon their bellies in order for the coolness of the water skins to relieve them of their thirst. Abbas takes a water skin and says, O children, fear not. I shall bring back some water for you. Abbas comes out of the tents and says, O Hussein, say, allow me to fetch some water for these thirsty, dying children. Hussein looks at Abbas, knowing that he will not see his Abbas again. Ali ibn Abi Talib in Najul Bala Gha gives an eloquent Khutbah sermon. Let the standard bearer be the best amongst you, the strongest, the bravest, the one with most resolve. For when the standard falls, so does the morale of the army. So long as the standard stands, the army stands. Look, stature of this man. He was like a lofty mountain, and his heart was like a momentous wave. He was a champion swordsman, a fearless warrior, and he fearlessly advanced into the ranks of the enemy amidst the showering arrows and the striking swords and spears. Abbas makes way. He enters within the Euphrates. He fills the water skin. He comes out of the Al-Gamam. The enemies know they cannot face this Abbas. There are trees around. Some of them hide behind the trees. As Abbas comes about the Al-Qama, Abbas engages with his enemies. His right arm is cut, and instead of the pain that he feels, he cries out, "By Allah, even if you were to cut my right arm, shall never cease to defend my deen and my Imam." His left arm is struck, and he cries out, "O soul, do not fear the Kafir, and take the glad tidings of the Jabbar." It is said that when Abbas took birth, Ali ibn Abi Talib carried him in his hands and began to weep and kissed his arms. They say, "Oh, Ali, why do you weep at the birth of a child? Rejoice." He said, "By Allah, he will have them cut." In the love of Hussein, the historians narrate that Shia Imam did not smile, but when he heard the jubilant cries arising from the Al-Qama, he asked, "What has happened?" He was told, "Abbas has been put to death." He broke into a smile. He said, "Now Hussein will not save himself. Now Hussein will die or will submit to Ibn Ziyad." Hussein reaches Abbas and sits next to Abbas. He says, "Zero Abbas. Oh my brother." Hassan tries to lift Abbas. Abbas says, "Oh brother, what is it you are trying to do?" Hussein says, "Abbas, I must take you back to the tents." He says, "O Hussein, I beseech you, for Allah, do not take me back. I have promised your Sakina water. I failed her, and if Zainab sees me in this state, her morale will break." Abbas gave a cry and lost his life. Hussein cries out, "Now my back is broken. Now my means have been severed." Sakina cries out, "Oh father, do you have any news of my uncle Abbas? He lies slain on the banks of the Euphrates." Zero child. "Oh Hussein," said his mother, "I can no longer sustain him, and I want your child to remain with me. You shall be gone, I will look upon him, and he will be your remnants for me." He covers baby as Jihar under his UBBA cloak, ascends his steed and goes towards the enemy. Hussein lifts his UBBA and exposes his baby and raises him upon his hands. He says, "O people, what crime has this child committed against you? Look at how he dies of thirst. Do you not see his lips dry? If you feel that I shall drink your water, then come and place a drop of water into his mouth yourself." As he says this, the people in the army of Yazid began to turn their faces and begin to weep, fearing a rebellion. Umar and sad looks at Hermela. Sever the speech of Hussein. Hermela cut him off. It cut the child's neck from ear to ear, as the warm blood oozes from the severed neck of baby as Jiharan falls into the palm of Hussein. The warmth of his Jihar's innocent blood brings Hussein back to reality. He calls out, "O Lord." He cups the blood and applies it upon his beard. And he says, O child, like this shall we be raised in front of your grandfather and my father." And it was time for him. She said, "O my father, if is this the case, then place your hands on my head, just the way the orphans are treated." Hussein ibn Ali has now bid his farewell to his family members and goes towards the battlefield. Then he looks towards his steed and spurs his steed and says, "O steed, take your master to his final battle." He calls out, "O godless enemies of Allah, do you know how you have violated the sanctity of the messenger of Allah? Do you know what blood you have spilled?" When Umar ibn Sa'd saw that this was not working, he began saying to them, "Attack him in multitudes." Large numbers of people surrounded Hussein like locusts. Everyone kept fighting Hussein from all sides. Hussein kept fighting. He extracts the arrows from his body, stands and engages the enemy. He says, "By Allah, you will never again fight one like me." Abu Abdullah fights them to a great extent. Abu Abdullah trembled as he supplicated. He said, "O Lord, endurance upon your decree, acceptance of your final command. O Lord, you are my only Lord, the one I rely on for every affair. None other than you is worthy of worship." We are told stones are being thrown at him. Arrows are fired at him. The enemies surround him and mock him. When Abu Abdullah falls to the ground, they all retreat, not knowing his fate. Abu Abdullah is still breathing. As the final moments of Abu Abdullah approach, as the army closes in on Abu Abdullah, Abu Abdullah's lips begin to move in the praise of Allah SWT. The enemies call out, "By Allah, we have not seen a man so deprived, so helpless, so hungry, so thirsty, so wounded, about to die." But his face radiates as Abu Abdullah's face radiates with serenity and eulogy, sing Allah. Shimr advances towards Abu Abdullah. Abu Abdullah barely finds himself in Sajda prostration. Shimr grabs Imam Hussain from them back and flings him upon his back. In another hadith, Angel Jibreel, he said, "Your community will kill this son of yours." The Prophet SAW replied that, "Will kill him while believing in me." And he said, "Yes." And then Jibreel brought forth soil and said, "From such and such a place." Ali he said, entered upon them. Prophet SAW one day, and his eyes were pouring forth tears. I said, "Messenger of God, has someone angered and upset you? What is the matter that your eyes weep?" He SAW replied, "Rather, Jibreel stood with me before me and informed me that Hussein would be killed by the banks of the Euphrates. When he stands at that place, there are individuals who dare to even think of harming a hair of the grandson of the Prophet saw a young boy who upon his birth the Prophet made the Aqah for him. He called the adhan in his ears. He did the ta'hnik. He put his blessed saliva into the mouth of his grandson. He gave him his name. The enemies turned their direction towards the tents of the daughters of Muhammad, Ali and Fatimah. Orders are given, sets the tents alight, and take the women of Hussein as captives to Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad. Torches were brought to the tents. It is said that the veils of women were taken. There is a call, prepare for captivity, and return to Kufa. Sakina was not separating from the body of her father. Upon insistence she would, upon insistance she would not leave. Shimr unleashed his whip and cracked it upon the back of the young child. She trembled and ran into the arms of her aunt. And for millions across the world today, Hussein stands as an exemplary individual. to establish freedom, dignity, honor, and the right to self-expression. We can learn from Hussein. We can learn from Hussein and the fact that we have to maintain our determination with whatever goals that we set. He becomes a role model of change. We will stand on principles of truth and just as we will resist oppression. We will not give in even to the point of death if that's what God has ordained for us, whether we're religious or not, whether we're Christians or Muslims or anything else. Where do we stand on the question of truth, of justice? How important is it to us? And to what lengths are we prepared to go to defend these principles? And so today the name of Imam Hussein continues to be held up as a flag of human equality and dignity. And those people who are standing up for these causes remember the name of democracy. Don't believe that the message of Imam Hassan is limited to a race or nation or a religion even. And so today the name of Imam Hussein continues to be held up as a flag of human equality and dignity. And those people who are standing up for these causes remember the name of democracy. Don't believe that the message of Imam Hassan is limited to a race or nation or a religion even. Remembering, keeping alive, commemorating those events gives us something upon which we can reflect in our own human lives today.